In the previous two sessions, we talked about drawing tools for lines, such as the line and polyline commands, as well as a few other commands. Of course, not all of these were line drawing commands, but they were the most important ones. Now, before we start discussing the next set of commands, it's necessary to talk about angle determination and point finding commands. In this video, we'll discuss the tools for determining angles, and in the next video, we'll talk about point finding commands. These are very important, so make sure to watch this video all the way to the end. Angle determination tools are tools that help us find angles. For example, to see if a line is straight or slanted, and if it's slanted, by how many degrees. When you're drawing a plan, you need to draw lines that are in your desired direction and have precise and accurate angles. To do this, there are two angle finders in AutoCAD software. These two angle finders are Ortho and Polar. What are Ortho and Polar angle finders, and what is the difference between them? Now we want to examine this. So let's say I enter the line command. How did that work? L, enter. One more time. Yes, L, enter. I enter the line command. Okay, once we've entered the command, now I click. Of course, I need to turn off these lower elements so I can explain everything from scratch. So I start drawing a line. The lines I'm drawing, it's not clear which one will be vertical, which one will be horizontal, or for example, which one will be at a 45-degree angle. If you want your lines to move along the X or Y axis, that is, to move horizontally or vertically, here you need to use the ortho mode. Ortho mode guarantees that the lines you draw will be aligned with either the X or Y axis. So in short, it doesn't have any angles except 0, 90, 180, and 270 degrees. So how do we use it now? Look at the bar below. You might see something like a 90-degree angle here. When I stand on it, it says ortho mode, and its shortcut is F8. So all I have to do is either click this button or press F8 on the top row of the keyboard. When I press F8, you can see that it turns on and your line only goes horizontally, or if I move my hand up, it moves vertically. Your line will never move diagonally. Now, as I move my hand, it guarantees the line is perfectly horizontal. Now, I just need to enter a number. For example, I enter 4,000 and it draws a line 4,000 units long horizontally. Now, this time I move my hand upward and I enter 5,000 and press enter. So my line moves vertically. Again, I move my hand this time to the left and I enter 4,000 again. You can see the number being typed below without me clicking anything. I mentioned this in the first session. When you want to tell AutoCAD something, you don't have to click below to type. It understands automatically. So 4,000, enter. Now I move my hand downward, type 5,000, enter, and you see a rectangle is formed. Now I just need to press the escape key from the corner of the keyboard. As you can see, a rectangle has been drawn, so that was the ortho function. From now on, whenever I use the line, polyline, or any other drawing command, you'll see that the cursor won't allow drawing in any other direction because ortho is active until I tell it to turn off. As soon as I press F8, ortho turns off and your line is free again. Now the next command is polar. The polar command has two differences from ortho. The first difference is that unlike ortho, it doesn't force you to only go vertically or horizontally. It gives you the option. If you want, you can move along the axis it defines for you. And if you don't want to, you can move at any angle you like. So the first difference is that polar doesn't force you to use its angles. The second difference compared to ortho is that in polar, you define the angle increment for it. For example, in polar, you can tell it that whenever you reach a multiple of 15 degrees, lock it for me there. Again, as I said, it doesn't force you, it just temporarily locks at those angles, and you define the angle increment for it. How do you define it? The polar command is down here next to ortho. Look, it's the one that looks like a circle with an angle at its corner. If I hover over it, it says polar tracking. What's its shortcut? F10, as you can see, it says F10 in parentheses. So all I have to do here is press F10, and you can see that by pressing F10, polar turns on. Between F8, which is ortho, and F10, which is polar, only one of them can be active at a time. That means if I press F8, you'll see that polar down here turns off. If I press F10, you'll see that ortho turns off, so both can't be on at the same time. Okay, I press F10 and I press F10 again. Yes, now it's on. Look. When I align with the horizontal direction next to my cursor, it says polar, then a number, and then it says less than 0. This means that the polar command is reporting to you that you've moved 4,000 units. Now, whether that's 4,000 meters, millimeters, whatever, you've moved forward. Less than 0 means you're currently moving at an angle of 0 degrees, right? Okay, now I move my hand up a bit. Now, what is the angle? It says less than 15, meaning right now the angle is 15 degrees. I move the mouse up higher, now it's 30 degrees. So by how much is it changing each time? By 15 each time. Where did it get this 15 from? Did I tell it? Well, look, when you right-click on polar here and take a look here, you'll see it's set to 15. It's telling you it's on 15, 30, 45, and so on. It shows you the angles. If you want it to show, for example, every 10 degrees, just set it to 10 and click. Now look, this is 0, this is 10. Before, it didn't show me every 10, but now it does. This is 20, it no longer shows 15, this is 30, and so on. Okay, now I want to draw this same rectangle at, say, a 30-degree angle. So here, I'll stop at 30 degrees. I enter 4,000. Enter. Now I'll stop along this direction. Naturally, in a rectangle where this side is at a 30-degree angle, the other side should be at a 120-degree angle. Because 30 plus 90 is 120. Okay, I enter 5,000, enter. Since the line went off the page, just press the mouse wheel and move it downward. That's all there is to it. Now, all I need to do is, in the direction of 120 plus 90 degrees, which is 210 degrees, I enter 4,000. And now again, I position myself in this direction, which is 300 degrees, and I enter 5,000. Is that correct? Now I just need to press escape to exit the command. So these were the ortho and polar commands and the only difference between them. While drawing this rectangle, I mentioned a point that you might not have fully understood. The point was that your mouse has a wheel or scroll. When you press it, right now I'm pressing it, you'll see that a hand icon appears in the middle of your AutoCAD, which we call pan. Whenever this hand appears, all you have to do is move your mouse, and you'll see you can move the page just like moving a piece of paper until you release the wheel again. Let me bring my mouse here, press the wheel again, move it, and release it again. This is a general rule you can use. Of course, since we might not come back to this later, it also has its own command. Maybe your mouse wheel is broken or you don't have a wheel at all. The command is P. The pan command, its shortcut is P. You type P, press enter, and the same hand icon appears. Now just left click and hold here, move it, and again I use the wheel, left click and hold here, move it. Whenever you want to exit the command, just press escape and you'll exit. This is a very important lesson. Be sure to practice it over and over. Also subscribe to the channel so that as soon as a new lesson is published, you'll have access to it. That's it for this topic.